Hello students, Sairam. I welcome you all to the part 2 of chapter number 8, Body Movements. In online session in part 1 of Body Movements, I have explained to you about the different activities that we do. For this activity, we need to move either a body part or multiple body parts. Then I have explained you about the difference between the movements and locomotion in living organism. In today's session, we will study about human skeleton system. We know that human skeleton system consists of 206 bones and there are a number of joints present, as you can see over here. Children, here we can see that there are number of joints. See, here is a joint, here is a joint. Here to bend forward, we need to bend. We are using these joints. Here we have joints. Here, these all are the joints in our body. Like this, number of joints are there in our body. We can say that we are capable of moving body only at places where the bones meet or where there are joints. Okay, now let's study about joints in detail. Joints are the places where bones meet. For example, this is your upper thigh and this is your lower leg and this is your knee joint. Because there are two bones are meeting at knee joint, you can bend over here easily. You can also say that it is a point in the body where two or more bones meet. You can define joints in either way as a joint is a point in the body where two or more bones meet. Now let's understand about the joints in detail. Okay, so children, here this is the diagram of a joint. Here is a joint. In this joint you can see this is the bone number 1 and this is bone number 2. They are meeting at this point. This is called as joint. If you look carefully, you will observe that these two bones are not in direct contact of each other. There is a smooth tissue present over here. Here at the end of the bones, these tissues are known as cartilage. Yes, see children, here there is a smooth tissue present at the end of the bone and which we call as cartilage, and there is a fluid present over here inside in this here. Cartilage helps to reduce the friction of movement within a joint. Even we can say that cartilage prevents damage to the end of the bones, and also a clear sticky fluid is secreted by the synovial membrane. It provides lubricant and reduces friction. So you must have observed that we are able to move few body parts in various directions and few body parts in only one direction. In fact, we are unable to move some part of the body at all. So what's the reason for this? Because there are different types of joints present in our body which helps us to carry out different movements and activities, and different bones allow different degree of movements. The type of movement depends upon the type of joint present at the particular place. So let's study about these joints, or we can say the types of joints in detail. Now we are going to study about 4 different types of joints: ball and socket joint, hinge joint, pivotal joint and fixed joint. Here the diagram which I am showing you on the screen here tells us that the fixed joint is present in the skull, pivotal joint is present in the neck, ball and socket joint is present in the hip and the shoulder bones, and hinge joint is present in the elbow and in the knees. Now we will study each of these joints in detail. So children, first we will study about ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint, the round end of one bone fits into the cavity, or we can say that hollow space of other bone. Here children, this is in ball and socket joint, the round end of one bone fits into the cavity or hollow space of the other. Children, here you can see that there is a example. Show with the example I have explained you about this one. If we'll consider this as the rounded end of one bone and here is the cavity of the other bone, in which this rounded end of the one bone fits into this cavity. Children, this cavity, we call this cavity as socket. So the rounded end of the one bone fits into the cavity of the other bone. This is the ball and socket joint. Here children, because of this arrangement of this joint, this allows movement in all direction. Ball and socket joint occurs at the shoulder and hips in our body. Our upper arm bone and shoulder bones make ball and socket joint. Then here you can see our upper leg thigh bone and hip bone. Here is the upper thigh bone and this is the hip bone. They forms ball and socket joint. In this case, the upper thigh bone is having the rounded end, and this rounded end fixed into this hip bone cavity. Hip bone, we can call this a socket. So this is an example of ball and socket joint. So children, here ball and socket joint allows the movement in all direction. In fact, it allows the greatest degree of movement. That is the reason that while bowling or while doing skipping, you can move your arms in both in clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction in 360-degree rotation. You are capable of moving your hands in different ways as shown in the picture. Just because there is ball and socket joint is present over here, and it allows greatest degree of movement. It allows greatest flexibility, and similarly we know that here the ball and socket joint is present over here in hips. This also that is why our legs are so much flexible. You can move your legs in different directions as shown in the picture. This is due to the ball and socket joint present in a hip point between our upper thigh bone and hip bone. Now let us study about hinge joint. Before that, let's understand why it is called as hinge joint. If you will look at this particular structure, this one children, this particular structure or this particular thing present in your door, this is called as hinge. Your children, here also you can see due to this hinge, it allows movement of the door only in one direction. For example, this door can open only inward. It cannot open in outward direction because of hinge present at the joint of the door. So hinge basically allow movement only in the one direction. This particular joint present in our elbow. These type of joints are present in our elbow and in knees is called as hinge joint because it allows the movement only in one direction, allows only back and forth movement. Now look at this one here. Due to the hinge joint present in your elbow, you can move your bone only upward direction. Can you move your elbow from this point in this direction? No, you cannot do this because hinge joint allows movement only in one direction. Now look at this joint. This joint is also a hinge joint present in a knee. Your knee joint is also a hinge joint, and due to this you can move your legs from this direction to this direction. You cannot move your legs in this direction because hinge joint allows movement only in one direction. Okay, now let's move forward to the next joint. This is pivotal joint. As we know that pivotal joint is present in our neck. So the joint where our neck joins to the head is a pivotal joint. It allows us to bend our head in forward and backward direction and even turn the head to our left and right. This joint allows rotation. You can rotate your head right to the left. So in pivotal joint, here you can see a cylindrical bone. A cylindrical bone rotates in a ring. Here it is a ring-like structure. As you can see here, this is the cylindrical bone and this is the ring-like structure. And here children, this cylinder rotates in this ring-like structure. Here, because of the pivotal joint, you can bend your head forward, backward. You can see to your left, to your right. It allows this kind of movement. As I told you, due to the pivotal joint, you can bend your head forward and backward. You can see to your left, to your right. It allows this kind of movement. But as we have studied in ball and socket joint, that while bowling the ball, you can rotate your hand in complete circle, isn't it? In clockwise direction and in anti-clockwise direction. In pivotal joint, you cannot completely rotate your head in backward or in forward direction. Even you cannot do 360-degree rotational movement, right? Because this joint doesn't allow this kind of movement. That's why I told you earlier that ball and socket joint allows greatest degree of movement. Even the ball and socket is very flexible joint. It allows the greatest movement. Now let's move forward to the next type of joint, which is fixed joint. There are some bones in our head that are joined together at some point. The bones cannot move at this point, and such joints are called as fixed joint. Fixed joints are present in a skull. Okay, when you try to open your mouth in wide, you are moving your lower jaw away from your head. Can you move your upper jaw away from your head? You cannot do that. And why, children? Because there is a joint between upper jaw and the rest of the head, which is a fixed joint between your upper jaw and the rest of the head. There is this kind of joint we call as fixed joint. In fact, in your entire skull, there is only one movable joint, that is the joint which is present between your lower jaw and the rest of the head. Rest of all the joints in the head are fixed and the bones cannot move at this joint. Okay, now here we have completed the types of joint. In this we have studied about the ball and socket joint, hinge joint, fixed joint and pivotal joint. In next session we will study about we can continue in the next topic, that is human skeleton system. Till then, goodbye children, take care.